my next game. I was a little bit torn here. This is the part where I wanted to talk about Project Athia or Project Athia, but unfortunately, it will not be released until 2023. So that one was out, so I had to figure out another game to replace it. And I was torn between Kenna Bridge of Spirits and Little Devils Inside. And Kenna Bridge of Spirits, just looking at it, does look similar to Project Athia. I mean, you have a female protagonist that can use magic, and it looked kind of like the Kingdom Heartsy version of it. You know, kind of have that Kingdom Heartsy kind of happy-go-lucky aesthetic. So it kind of looked like the more family-friendly version of Project Athia. But I ended up going with Little Devils Inside because when I started looking into it, it actually there was a lot I didn't know, and it does look super interesting, and I'm way more interested now than I was before. So it's made by Neostream Interactive, and it's also published by Neostream Interactive. Its release date is 2021. They have not said quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no quarter 5. Excuse me, quarter 1, 2, or 3, or 4. But they haven't said. So it should release at some point this year. I'm not sure when. I would assume they're probably pretty far into it, and they are going for a minimalist design. So I don't think they're going to have too much trouble getting it out on time. Also, being an indie games typically don't have that same kind of reputation of being canceled or eternally delayed that AAA titles do. I guess because usually they're not trying to be as ambitious, and it's a lot easier to get certain things out the door. So it probably should release in 2021. The platforms are PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, so should be pretty accessible. And the description is actually really interesting. So it has a very unique kind of artistic design. It looks kind of minimalist. It almost has kind of a Tim Burton clay animation aesthetic to it, but at the same time, it almost looks kind of like if you've played games like Tearaway or Paper Animals or something, where it almost has this kind of origami-ish look to it, I guess I would say, where things look kind of polygonal in a way, but they're smooth. Anyway, it just looks really simply done. And if you're looking at the trailer, it seems to have kind of different gameplay elements similar to what we saw in Nier, where certain parts are 3D and there's free exploring, and other parts are kind of 2D, and it kind of cuts between like this part you're just kind of a twin stick shooter looking thing, and this part you're actually exploring. Now, from the description, they say it's a fully 3D world exploration game. So they say it's going to be fully 3D, but looking at the trailer, there definitely seem to be scenes where it's basically more 2D, where you're walking along either like in the city view where you're kind of walking along the city street, or there's parts where he's sitting on the back of the car and there are things running behind him and he's kind of shooting them, but the view is always from the side. It's not like swiveling with the camera. So we'll see what if it sticks to just the 3D thing, or if it does actually switch between them. But it has some survival elements, and this is kind of where it gets interesting. So the gameplay loop is you have a character, and you'll have some sort of mission where you need to go out and accomplish something, kill a dragon or steal this relic or something like that. And so you have to prepare for the mission before you go on it. So you have to take things into consideration like, is the weather going to be cold? Am I going to the desert where it's going to be hot? And then you actually gear your character based on what you're going to be doing. And so you get your guy all prepped up and ready, and then you go out there, and then you have to do some survival things. Like, for instance, if you don't drink water in the desert, you're going to dehydrate and die. So you have to hack open a cactus and get some water out. Or if you're in the cold, maybe you have to build a fire to keep warm if you get too cold. So it has all that. But the thing is they say it's not a difficult, or at least the people who made it said it's not a difficult survival game, in the sense that if you're playing a game like Don't Starve, or what's that other game, 13 Days or whatever, the zombie one?
28 Days?
No, that's the movie. There's a game where 7 Days to Die, I think. Okay. So in these survival games, you basically want to survive as long as you can. So you have to create something sustainable, farming or like Minecraft survival or something like that. And this, it's just survive the mission. So you don't have to worry about creating a sustainable kind of environment where you can come back to for safety. You just have to keep yourself alive long enough while you're out there. So you just have to, gather some water or build some fires, and that's basically it. Nothing too difficult. And plus, because you've prepped beforehand, you should be ready with most of those things anyway. So, my canteen ran out. I just fill it with warm water. that's fine. You know, I'm good. I'm good to go. So it does have some survival elements, but it's not super dependent on them. You can upgrade your character, you can upgrade your vehicles, you can upgrade your weapons. And so that'll allow you to explore this world a little bit more efficiently. And also, it doesn't have fast travel. So if you want to go from point A to point B, you have to get on your vehicle and drive from point A to point B and deal with whatever comes along your way along the path. So I don't know how well that's going to work, because I know I have friends that really don't like fast travel because they're like, oh, you know, it takes me out of the game and it makes it too simple and things like that. But then, of course, when they play it, they always use it because they're like, oh, well, you know, it's just so convenient. And I mean, who wants to run around the map, you know, 20 times? So I don't know if they're going to have maybe certain waypoints that you can get to, like maybe there's an outpost in the middle and you can fast travel to the outpost or something. So I don't know exactly, but it sounds interesting not to have fast travel, but I know that could get tedious really, really quickly. So we'll see how much it sticks to that. It's also roguelike in that if your character dies, they're dead. They're gone. You can't bring them back. But you'll take over a new character, and that new character can go out to the body of the original character, and then they can salvage all their stuff. They can grab their gear and all that. So there is this kind of roguelike element to it. And that plays into the characters. Now, they have a minimalist UI. They're trying to minimize menus, so as few menus as possible, as few, you know, anything that's not just real world stuff, you know, as much as they can. So because of that, you really have to read your character. For instance, if you're walking around in the cold, your character might start to shiver. You know, they'll grab themselves and start shivering, and that indicates they're cold. And that's when you need to, you know, warm them up somehow. Or if a character gets injured, they'll kind of limp along and they're kind of like, oh, you know, hurting on their leg or something like that. And that's going to indicate that your character is injured. And so you're going to have to really pay attention to the way your character is behaving, because that's going to indicate their status. All right. So it's kind of like, to an extent, maybe Dead Space, where you don't have a life bar on the screen, but the guy kind of has this thing on his back that'll light up that'll tell you if his vitals are not doing too well. So you do have to look at the character themselves and pay attention to it. But the characters actually have individual personality traits, and it doesn't tell you what they are from the beginning. So you basically have to play with this character to figure out what their personality kind of is. And certain personality traits might be like, this character is kind of prideful or boastful. They don't want people to see weakness in them. And then if they get injured, they won't indicate that they're hurt. Like a regular character, you know, if they get injured, they might start limping or something like that. Well, a prideful character or a boastful character is not going to start limping unless it's really, really bad, because they don't want people to know that they're injured. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. Or one of the examples they give is that certain characters might be kind of womanizers and they're female obsessed. And when you get into certain areas where there's a woman, the vision will kind of narrow in. So you can't see or focus on other things because he's just so focused on this girl. So it won't tell you what their character's traits are, but as you play them, you'll start to pick up on, oh, okay, this guy, you know, I keep getting injured, but this guy's not really indicating it. I have to really keep an eye on him because this guy doesn't want me to know that he's injured, so he's not going to act that way. So that's kind of really interesting there. And already this game has had its own kind of little scandal. If you watch this trailer, I guess this trailer is the original one. There's a part where he's kind of in this jungle area and he's being chased by these guys with masks, and they have dreadlocks and they kind of have these big red lips and stuff like that. And apparently some people were claiming that that was kind of a racist depiction of African tribes. And so as a result, apparently they've patched that out, or I guess that you can't say patched out because it hasn't actually been released yet, but they've edited those out and they've changed those characters. So apparently it's already kind of had this controversy. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, and for the people that would enjoy this, I think would be people that enjoy kind of little artsy games. If you like, say, Little Nightmares or something like that, or if you really enjoy just kind of exploration games, you know, maybe survival games to an extent, I think that this would be a good game. Maybe not necessarily to pick up because we don't have that much information on it yet, but just to check it out and see how it goes. I think that would be very helpful. So yeah, go ahead and keep an eye on it.
Okay. I mean, this looks wonderful, and the things you've said sound really interesting. I love the variety of mechanics, but the for me, moving into 2021, with Breath of the Wild, with Immortals, Phoenix Rising, the game from Ubisoft that's on the Switch, that people compare that to Breath of the Wild. Without,
Genshin Impact they compare to Breath of the Wild.
but that has fast travel.
Yeah, it does.
So for me, like no, a game without fast travel is an immediate just can't do it.
Yeah, that's why for me, I'm like, I'm not sure how well this is going to work because, like, it sounds good on paper, but then in practice, it just gets tedious really fast.
I mean, even playing Cyberpunk at the moment, when I was playing, I streamed on Sunday, and I could not, for the life of me, remember how to fast travel in Cyberpunk. I eventually figured out, and Cyberpunk has specific points where you can only fast travel at that point, and even that was like, that's kind of irritating because, well, I mean, while if I was a person with infinite amount of time, I'd love driving around my virtual, sports car, going on enjoying the beautiful things in Night City. But actually, I mean, I've got an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe on vacation, and I just want to fast travel, go there, shoot people, come back, upgrade, do the same thing again. So, I mean, I'm still gonna, like you said, I'm gonna keep an eye out for this and see maybe they change their mind. Maybe it doesn't take too long to go between point A and point B. So I'm still gonna keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I don't know how big the world is, so we'll have to wait and see.
Okay.